Right, okay, officially starting. Welcome everybody. So my name is Jackie Lynch. I am a registered nutritional therapist and I'm your host for tonight. A little bit about me before we get going. My Well Nutrition Clinic specialises in supporting women who are looking to apply a nutritional approach to their menopause symptoms with or without HRT. I'm also the author of this fabulous little book, which is The Happy Menopause, Smart Nutrition to Help You Flourish, which really is the A to Z of nutrition, of menopause nutrition. And I'm the host of the Happy Menopause podcast, where I speak to a different expert each month on a specific aspect of the menopause. Now, as well as our wonderful speakers tonight, we've also got a fantastic prize draw. So I just want to share that screen with you. Here we are. So stick around till the end because you are going to be automatically entered into the prize draw to win one of these great bundles. We've got a fabulous range of product from Better You, who specialise in sprays like this rather wonderful vitamin D spray that I'm a big fan of, as well as things like flakes, magnesium bath flakes, magnesium sleep lotion. So you've got a fabulous selection of product from them. Also some wonderful things from Silk, who've given us their intimacy camper. So as well as a little bottle of fizz and some chocolates, you've also got some fabulous lubricant and applicators, so you can have that wonderful intimate night in. And then from Emapel Skincare, they've given us their very special menopause-friendly serum and night cream, which I can personally vouch for being absolutely gorgeous. As well as that, my book is up for grabs, and Susan, who's speaking later, will also be offering a copy of her two great books, The Age Well Project and The Age Well Plan. So make sure you stick around because we'll be doing the prize draw at the end of the session. First things first, I just want to share with you a little bit of information about our first guest. So just bear with me. I'm going to share the screen again. And here she is. So actually, before I do that, my bad, I want to introduce all of our panelists tonight. So can you pop yourselves on camera, please? Julie, Susan, and Anne, so everyone can just see you. And Laura, if you could pin the four of us up there, that'd be absolutely great. Give us a minute and we will get ourselves pinned up there. So Julie, I can see you because there's a lot of people there, and I've only got Laura up at the moment. I'm going to change my view so I can see the gallery. Julie, give us a wave. Yeah, you can see Julie there. Susan, can you give us a wave?
Hi there, hi everyone.
And Anne, would you like to give us a wave? Fabulous.
Hello, everybody.
That's great. So Professor Anne MacGregor is a specialist in headaches, and we'll be talking to her in just a moment. Julie Robinson is our specialist in health and fitness. And Susan Saunders, health coach and author, is going to be talking all about the science of aging. So I would really like to start with Anne. So to that end, I'm going to give you a little bit of information about Anne as soon as it will let me. There we go. So Professor Anne MacGregor, absolutely outstanding woman. She's a specialist in headaches and women's health, and she's published over 200 research papers, authored numerous books on the role of estrogen in migraine, and she's a specialist trainer, researcher and clinician who's really pushed the boundaries of research in the area of hormonal headaches, freeing us all up and making it possible for the medical profession to understand that this is a thing and we're not imagining it. So through the course of her career, she's supported countless women along the way. And I recorded a podcast with her back in September on hormonal headaches, and it really is one of the most popular of the entire series. And I'm in season 3 now. So that's, that's a big accolade to Anne and the importance of what she's doing. So what I'd like to do is get her to join us on the screen. And Laura, if you could pin Anne and I up, then we will get going.
By the way, Jackie, I'm also in Notting Hill.
Are you? Well, when we spoke, you were based in New Zealand, weren't you?
I was, and I'm just about to go off to Vancouver next week. So it's,
you'll be joining a great
I know. It's one of my favourite places in the world.
Oh, it is. It's a wonderful place. Absolutely. I love it too. Right. Well, while we're waiting for ourselves to get pinned up, let's get going.
Jackie, both of you guys are already pinned. You might just need to change your view. If you look at speakers, you should see both of you guys up there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Brilliant. Thanks, Laura. Great. So let's get going. Drilling right down into it. Anne, what is the difference between a headache and a migraine?
There's a huge number of differences between a headache and a migraine, and most people will know when they have a headache and know when they have a migraine. The simple thing is it's related to changes in brain chemistry, and a migraine attack is a process that starts and then has to complete. So a typical migraine, easiest way to diagnose a migraine is if somebody gets headaches every so often, they're completely well between those attacks, but these headaches make that person feel sick, like can bother them, and they're not able to carry out the things that they would normally be planning on doing. And those attacks can last anything from part of a day up to 3 days. But once they've started, take a couple of standard painkillers that might work on your usual headache, and they're probably not going to be effective.
Right. So that's sort of headaches and migraines generally, but why are women so much more prone to getting them, and what effect are our hormones and the menopause in particular going to be having on them?
Yeah, so that's one of the same question that I asked myself when I first started working at what used to be the City of London Migraine Clinic, a specialist migraine clinic back in the 1980s. And I realized that 80% of the people that we saw at the clinic were women, and the majority of them were women in their 40s. So, wow. But many of them didn't mention sort of perimenopause symptoms because they'd come to the clinic about headache. But I also work in a menopause clinic, and when we asked the patients attending the menopause clinic, and this is a study we've also repeated very recently, we found the same thing, but the other way around, in the sense that there was a huge prevalence of headache and migraine in the women attending a menopause clinic, which would be more than you would expect in the usual population. And we've now just seen increasingly this effect of hormones on migraine, but more so as women approach the perimenopause, when they start noticing a link with their menstrual periods. There's also a link established between hot flushes and night sweats and migraine. And then at the other end, we know that the more years post-menopause that you get, the greater relief you're likely to get from migraine. So pretty good evidence, and that's without going into all the other evidence of the other reproductive events through a woman's life, but strong evidence.
So if a woman's been prone to migraines all her life, should she expect them to get worse during the perimenopause?
It depends on how great a hormonal link that they notice. So essentially, most women will get their first migraine attack in their teens or 20s, but it doesn't become a problem for them until they get to their late 30s, early 40s. And that's the time that we start to notice this link with menstruation, with their periods. And then not long after that, they will start to develop perimenopause symptoms, hot flushes, night sweats, and everything that everybody else going through menopause knows about.
And is it something that can happen if you've never been prone to migraines as well?
A few people do notice for the first time that they get migraine, And often, again, menstrual migraine, again, or migraine worsened with their periods as they get to menopause. So it's less common. More often it's that they've had migraine all their lives, but it gets worse around perimenopause. But few people do get it for the very first time. And often it's not recognized as migraine.
Why is that?
Because they don't talk about it to the people that they're treating for menopause, or it's disregarded by the people that they talk about it to, about their headaches, because the person may not really know whether it's linked or whether there's anything to do with it or what they're going to do with it. So I think it more often gets lost because many women think that they've just got to experience headaches and that's part and parcel of being a woman.
Right. Yeah, that's very unfortunate. My mum was very prone to migraines all her life, and I just remember as a child how bad that they could be, and never occurred to me that there might be any hormonal aspect to it. But I do remember suddenly looking back that actually they stopped mysteriously, and of course that would probably be when she went through the menopause, and I was very relieved for her, because honestly they used to be absolutely dreadful. So when you're someone, and I'm imagining there's many women in the audience who are probably, yes, I can see a few things in the chat now already, noticing that they've been having problems. What can we do? How do you manage these hormonal headaches? Are there solutions?
Yeah, there's a huge number of solutions. The first thing is to get people to keep a diet. So you can have migraine, but you can have other different headaches as well. So it's really important to try and work out how many different headaches a person has and what factors might be involved with them. So are they more likely to get them at weekends? Are they more likely to get them when they're on holiday? Are they more likely to get them with their periods? What are these patterns? Because people just don't remember pain. They remember they've had pain, but they often don't remember the circumstances that surrounded that pain. So diaries become the gold dust. It's then symptom treatment is another important factor, because if you can manage the headaches well, and so simple things like ensuring that you're well hydrated, that your blood sugar levels are not low, that you're maintaining good blood sugar levels, that you're looking after yourself, getting enough sleep, those are all things that the brain will say, you're not looking after me properly, and those can be factors that can aggravate a migraine further. But
Right, so very much getting the basics of nutrition right, which is what I bang on about all the time, everybody, and anyone who follows me on social media will know I'm always talking about blood sugar. There's a whole chapter on blood sugar here, everybody.
So nutrition, exercise, hydration, all of these things, sleep, those are all really important things. But if a migraine attack doesn't respond to simple painkillers, then you can get some very specific medication from your GP who can prescribe, or even your pharmacist can actually advise on specific migraine treatments.
So where does HRT fit into this? Is it the solution? Is it the opposite? What's the position?
Yeah, well, one has to be a little bit careful with HRT, because there seems to be a sort of general promotion about everybody should have HRT at any particular stage. And if you get the timing wrong, the thing to remember about HRT is it adds to the hormones that are there already. It's not suppressing them in any way like contraceptive hormones do. So if you imagine that a woman's already got fluctuating hormones and you add HRT into the mix and the hormones fluctuate more, and that's the factor that's triggering off their migraine in this particular case, then migraine can potentially get worse rather than better. So timing is everything. If a woman has hot flushes and night sweats, that is the indicator to consider HRT. And if they have bad migraine, but they don't have the hot flushes and night sweats, then it's unlikely that HRT is going to be particularly helpful to them. So we always say start low and go slow. consider it's the right type of HRT is a discussion with the woman. There is no one type of HRT that is right or suits everybody. So it's back down to discussing an individual woman's needs, considering what benefits they might personally get from HRT and what their potential risks might be, how that might fit in with their migraine, and then move forward from there.
What about the women who come to you in desperation and saying, well, it's all about my hormones, so should I just have it all out? Should I just have a hysterectomy?
Yeah, and you can really understand the rationale behind that, why women might think, because they're sick of having their periods, they're sick of having the migraines that are linked to them. Unfortunately, the driver is actually within the brain. So the ovaries are just doing what they're told by the brain. So if you actually have a hysterectomy, then, well, two things. Your ovaries, if you have healthy ovaries, they will help you keep healthy for the rest of your life. So unless you have diseased ovaries, keep them in, don't get them removed.
Right.
And if you take them out, then the brain goes into overdrive and says, look, where have my ovaries gone? I wasn't expecting to go through menopause quite yet. And actually that can worsen migraine. So not a good idea to have your ovaries removed for migraine management. It's probably going to make the situation worse rather than better.
Right. So it's all very much horses for courses, and everybody needs to be treated individually.
Yeah.
Our hormones are we are complicated beings, aren't we, Anne? That is the problem.
Yep, we are individuals, not statistics, and
Yeah.
that's where the management comes into it.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, we're going to wrap up with Anne now, but she's going to be coming back to us for the panel session when I've spoken to the other three. So any questions? I know some are already popping in to the chat already, so we'll make sure we get to those a little bit later on. And some people have sent me some questions in advance as well, so I'll make sure we get to all of those. So Anne, that was brilliant. Thank you very much for sharing your knowledge with us, and you'll be back with us soon. So what I'd like to do now is just introduce you to the rather wonderful Julie Robinson, and picking up a lot on what Anne just said about the whole lifestyle and looking after yourself. And quite a few people have popped in the chat there, the fact that for various reasons they can't take HRT. So what we want to be looking at is what difference exercise can really make. And I have to say that Julie has an unbelievable knack for making exercise simple, easy, and enjoyable. So she's the founder of an organisation called Menopause, which aims to empower women to really take control of their menopause. And she's a fitness expert really for the over 40s, with a unique and nationally accredited blend of movement and motivation, which is really going to help us all improve our health and well-being, not just through the menopause, but beyond as well. So I'm going to stop sharing and let's get Julie up on the screen and hear what she's got to say, because I've got some questions for you, Julie.
Oh, good.
Are you with us?
I am indeed. Hi there, Jackie.
Yeah, oh, it's great. Honestly, I love chatting to you because every time I do, I learn some clever new trick to keep myself moving. So first things first, why is movement so important in midlife? What's going on?
I'm glad you said the word movement, because as soon as we say exercise, people go, oh, no, don't tell me about that again. It's a bit Marmite, isn't it? People love it or hate it, but 1/3 of women stop exercising or being active at menopause.
That's huge.
It's massive, and it's really just at the wrong time. You can understand why, and I know I've got several t-shirts saying that too. It's really hard to motivate yourself when you have aches and pains. You feel like you're 82 years old when you wake up in the morning one day. You've got period problems and bloating and fatigue and insomnia and hot flushes. And now you're telling me I need to go to the gym? Of course, it's really tough. But I think the thing is, it's trying to reframe it into physical activity is like medicine during menopause, and it isn't just about, oh, I'm burning calories or it's really good for your heart. Yes, we know this, but it's trying to see how it will actually impact upon your other symptoms. And I've been very surprised at the research that's at last coming through to show how it will impact upon our stress levels. And as you say, Jackie, reducing our stress is going to have an impact on everything, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the thing is, the more stressed you are, the worse your menopause symptoms, because stress interferes with the body's plan B for the menopause. So all of you who aren't able to take out HRT, you really need to focus on your stress levels, because the adrenal glands are programmed to produce estrogen, a weak form of estrogen post-menopause, to keep us fit and well, which is great. Except if you're super stressed, they're far too busy producing stress hormones. And because our stress response is a life-saving response, the body will prioritize it because it's our body's job to keep us alive. So anything we can do to bring down that stress is really key, isn't it?
Oh, it is, absolutely. And one of the things that's recently been found out is about resistance exercise, or anything where you are lifting a weight or pushing or pulling, anything where you work against a load. So it doesn't have to mean going to the gym, unless you like that, of course, that's fine. This will impact upon how you cope with your cortisol. So you know that stress hormone that keeps getting pumped out, and we get more and more stressed and anxious. And so resistance exercise has been shown to help with reducing inflammation, which is really key to good long-term health, but also it boosts our natural form of testosterone. So it's a DHEA, a form of testosterone, and it's our cortisol levels go up, and nature pushes up our DHEA, so it comes back and we're all nicely in balance. But guess what happens? It doesn't stop. So the cortisol keeps going, the DHEA is here, and we have to think, well, how can I boost it naturally without taking any tablet? Is actually by exercising. So sometimes we might do aerobic exercise, cardiovascular, but we really need to start introducing or keeping up with some strength training. And it doesn't have to be difficult. You know, I've got some little tips and things that people can try and do to make it convenient, because we're all too busy to think, oh, I haven't got an hour to go and put into this. And so it's literally having things ready to go, handy. You know, it can be a bottle of water, it can be those weights, it can be a bag of sugar. You know, I know that sounds very shocking, doesn't it? So
well, you know, I'm not going to approve of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll take my blurry off. I've shown you this before, haven't I, Jackie?
You have. Go on, show me again.
Yeah. So here's your bag of sugar or your big flour, and they're a kilogram, perfect weights. So you haven't got to, you can keep them, they're right in your kitchen. And you pop them into a carrier bag, and then you've got an instant weight. So instead of you thinking to yourself, oh, well, I can't do it, I haven't really got time, you've popped the kettle on, you pick these up, and you need two, so they're equally weighted, and you do front raises, lateral raises, bicep curls, and you've done some weightlifting in your kitchen while you're making a cup of tea.
So how much of a difference is that going to make? Because I think a lot of us assume, well, you know, I haven't got time to get to the gym because I haven't got an hour or an hour and a half to spare. But you're talking about something that takes less than 5 minutes. Does that make a difference?
Absolutely. I think I've always had the mantra of 20 a day, not ciggies, 20 minutes a day, and that can be split up into 10 minutes. So even if you are, and I've got this behind my back, my squidgy ball, a bender ball, and you pop this between your thighs, you can't see me now. I'm on a Zoom and I'm squeezing that ball and I am toning up my inner thighs. So, you know, you can do 100 of those while you're on a Zoom. So make it easy, make it convenient, and it all adds up. Don't look at that hour-long gym session. Look at 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, because it will add up to make a difference.
Mm-hmm. And why is it so important that we keep strong?
Oh, because from the age of 30, we start losing our muscle mass unless we do something to reverse that. And after 50, particularly, you know, average age 51 for menopause, is that starts to tumble down. So we're losing our muscle at 1 to 2% a year. I know we don't want to think about it, but by the time we're 80, we've lost half our muscle mass. You can't get out your chair without using your arms or having some help. So it's actually trying to maintain that muscle mass and density and strength, not only because it's really nice to have toned muscles, that's very functional, but it's more about reducing inflammation, and it helps with weight gain. Instead of just thinking about calories in and out, if we can really look at the ratio of fat to muscle, that starts to go out of kilter. It's very annoying. But if we can try and get a little bit more of muscle versus fat, we're burning more calories even while we're asleep.
One of the things I notice amongst my clients in my clinic is that as we reach midlife, we all sort of move to the mat. There's a lot more Pilates going on, there's a lot more yoga. Now, I've got nothing against either of those. I do them and I love them, and there's lots to be said for them. But that often means we're not doing so much of the cardio, perhaps, or the strength stuff. And I saw that someone popped on the chat there, I hate running. And, you know, I'm sure lots of us understand that. But what else can we do if it's not going to be running?
Yeah, I think looking at things where you've got a combination. So if you do Pilates and yoga and mat work, absolutely brilliant. But you're missing out on impact, which we need for our bones. And as someone who went through early menopause after hysterectomy at 36 and now has osteoporosis, it's really, really important to maintain that muscle, the bone density. So a little bit of impact, doesn't have to be running. You've got to find something you love. For me, it's putting the music on really loud in the kitchen or anywhere and dancing. You know, you've got a little bit of impact. You can be jumping up and down a little bit, adding in that kind of really extravagant dancing like nobody's watching. That's fantastic for your heart, your bones, your brain. So anything you can find, but keep it mixed up. Do some strength, do some cardiovascular, do some stretching, and have that bit of impact.
So it's all about variety.
Yeah,
Great. And have you got another little demo for us? Just
I certainly
wrap
have,
up?
because you know, when you talk about time, 30 seconds, this is all it takes. Don't worry, I'm not taking my clothes off. So everyone can join in with this. 2 warnings.
Getting ready.
Don't do it if you're wearing heels. Take your heels off. And don't do it if you've got an office chair with wheels on, because we're going to stand up and your chair will move away. You need a phone or a stopwatch. 30 seconds, and you can do this every time you've got an in-between a meeting. I'll just move back.
Are you going to time us?
I will indeed.
Right, I hope everybody's getting ready to join in. I know you're having fun on the chat.
Okay. All we do is sit forward on your chair, bring your heels back, sit up tall. If you can, pop your hands over your chest and you get up and down, okay? And we'll do as many as you can in 30 seconds. So don't forget to count. Up and down is 1. Okay, are you ready? Steady, go. Make sure your bottom touches the chair. You'll really notice your heart rate starts to go up. Keep going. I'm going to stop and come back and talk. You are halfway through. Try to keep going. If it hurts your knees, stop, but don't worry, keep going. You've only got 5 seconds left. You're nearly there. And stop. And there you go. 30 seconds. How's your heart rate, Jackie?
Oh, yeah, I'm going to try and sound as if I'm not at all breathless. 22.
But what you've done there, you've worked your glutes, your quads, your core, your heart, and it's taken 30 seconds. Come on. So pop it in the chat. I'd love to see how you got on. Oh, here we go.
Pop it in the chat when I get my breath back.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the thing to look at is not how you compete with anyone else. It's about how you score and then see if you can improve your score. And we know we can actually turn back the clock by keeping our muscles strong. And you, in fact, by 10 years, who doesn't want to be 10 years younger? Not how you look, but how you feel and how you function and how you are fit for life.
Well, that brings us very neatly. Thank you very much. Aren't these impressive? Well done, everybody. Yeah. Julie, thank you. Come back and join us in a little while. Okay. I'm going to move on to Susan, and that's perfect timing, actually, because Julie was just talking about turning back the clock, and here we are about to talk about how to change the way you age, because Susan Saunders has made a study of this. She's been working for years now, researching on how to live a longer, healthier and happier life. And the fruits of this research led her to co-creating the Age Well project, which was originally a very useful blog and has now become a brilliant brilliant book called The Age Well Project. And her latest book, The Age Well Plan, is a 6-week program. It's the practical application, if you like, of the science that features in the first book. And it's all about how to support healthy aging. So without further ado, let's get Susan up on the screen and let's drill down into the whole issue of healthy aging. Thanks for joining us, Susan.
My pleasure. I'm a bit breathless too now because I was really going for it. I'm really competitive and I was really going for it. And
well, how many did you do? I bet you did more than
25.
me. Oh, I see.
But I'm on quite a high chair. That I think that gave me an advantage. I was just sort of bouncing off.
Well
chair.
done. That's very impressive.
Yeah.
Right. Well, let's drill down into it. First things first, what are the key factors that age us?
Well, I mean, time is the most obvious one. Time is passing. We're getting older. But what we really need to look at is our genetic risk factors when it comes to aging and the chronic diseases of aging, and our lifestyle. Those are the two things. But it's really easy to think, well, my dad had cancer or my mum had dementia, and so that will happen to me. And that's not the case. Your genetic risk factors are at most about 25% of aging. Of course, it varies for individual health issues, but lifestyle is a good 75% of what happens to us as we age. And there's a saying that genetics load the gun, but lifestyle pulls the trigger. So
right.
Our lifestyle can make a really big difference. And I know that I carry an increased genetic risk of Alzheimer's. I have one variant of the ApoE4 gene, so my risk is greater. But I also know that I can do a lot with my lifestyle to reduce that risk. I would say if the bullet's got our number on it, that's it. But there is so much that we can do with lifestyle to reduce our risk of all those chronic conditions that we associate with aging.
Mm-hmm. Now, the thing about aging is, I think a lot of us think of it in terms of how old do we look, what's our skin doing, and how well we move, whether we start to make that noise as we get out off the sofa, the one, oof, as you stand up. But actually, we're aging internally at a cellular level, and that's where all the damage, if you like, is, or the action at least, is really happening. So how does aging affect us at a cellular level? What's going on?
Well, as you say, the things we see on the outside that we know indicate that we're aging, as Julie was saying, our muscle declining and our wrinkles and our grey hair, everything that's happening that we see on the outside is replicated at a cellular level within us. Our DNA is aging, it's under pressure, and there are so many things happening. For example, our mitochondria, which are the batteries of our cells, they are, when we talk about eating for energy or feeding ourselves, actually we're eating for our mitochondria. They are the batteries that give us energy, that keep us going, and they start to wear down, they start to lose energy, they become less productive, so they struggle as we age. We have in our bodies telomeres. Well, in every cell we have telomeres. I love talking about telomeres. They are the little caps on the end of our strands of DNA. Those strands are called chromosomes. Our DNA is what makes us us. It's woven into strands called chromosomes, and on the end is a tip called a telomere. If you imagine a shoelace, the cotton of the shoelace is our DNA, the lace is the chromosome, and the tip on the end is the telomere. And with age, those telomeres wear down. And so what happens, as with the shoelace, is that the chromosomes fray, and then we start to get DNA damage. Our body really struggles to repair that as we get older.
So it's all about the telomeres being a decent length and in good shape.
Yes, we want them to be long and strong, and we can actually help them kind of grow back. They respond really well to a healthy lifestyle. They love us to be exercising. So, as Julie was saying, there's so much more than just what we look like when we exercise. We are actually helping ourselves at a cellular level. They also respond really well to meditation and stress reduction techniques. And meditators have longer telomeres than non-meditators. So there are, aging isn't, lifestyle isn't just about what we eat and how we exercise. There are kind of many other practices that we can bring in, simple lifestyle practices that we can bring in, which make a difference.
So if I've got this correctly, if someone has led a pretty, let's say you've had a wild ride of it up till now and it's all been a bit crazy, and you know, without knowing it, your telomeres are shrinking down, we can reverse that with the right approaches?
Absolutely. And we can do it, and it's not just telomeres. Having a healthy lifestyle in a really broad sense really helps all elements of that kind of aging process. It helps us strengthen our mitochondria. It helps deal with the oxidation, the inflammation which builds up as we age, which is so key to aging. Research has talked about inflammaging, because inflammation, which is caused in the body as we age and by lifestyle factors, is so closely linked to aging. The two words just kind of have to go together. So inflammation plus aging equals inflammaging.
Okay.
But that can be really impacted with lifestyle.
So what are the main things we can do to support healthy aging? Give us some stuff to do.
So three, I mean, there are lots of things, of course, but three really simple tips. Focus on sleep. We're all coming out of two very difficult and stressful years. Women have been disproportionately affected by broken sleep during the pandemic. So really focus on sleep. Treat it like a hobby that you're passionate about. Give time to it. Give time to that wind down before sleep. If you need to spend money on it, getting the right pillows and blackout blinds and that sort of thing, you invest in sleep, both in terms of time and money if you need to. That's really critical. That has a huge impact on how we age and how we're aging at a cellular level. My nutrition mantra, it might be different to yours, Jackie, but mine for aging well is berries, greens, greens. If you do nothing else with your 3 meals a day, a portion of berries, 2 portions of greens makes an enormous difference to how we age, particularly brain health. Those leafy greens and berries like blueberries or blackberries have a real impact on brain health.
Do you know what? I'm with you on the berries, certainly, but the leafy greens, I'm like a broken record on that. I think if we could have 2 handfuls of leafy greens every day, it just helps at so many levels. It's not least because for me they're a one-stop shop for menopause friendly nutrients, because they're packed with magnesium, really great for calming the nervous system, regulating the body's response to stress. Some women with migraines actually and headaches actually find that magnesium can help with that because it relaxes the muscles and the blood vessels that might be tightening up. Leafy greens are a great source of calcium, twice as much calcium per 100 grams as milk. They're a great source of iron, often an issue for women having heavy periods or flooding. Great source of vitamin C, which we need to produce collagen for strong bones and great skin. Great source of vitamin K for our bones. And a multitude of really wonderful plant compounds and antioxidants, which, as you rightly point out, really support our brain. So I'm all for those leafy greens. And I can see someone's just said in the chat there, put them into smoothies. Jolly good, but eat some whole as well. It's very important to eat them whole and not just break them down.
Yes, absolutely. And also that magnesium from greens really helps with sleep. So
yes, absolutely.
really important.
So whoever wins the Better You goodie pack will have at least 4 different forms of magnesium in there. So fingers crossed.
Fantastic, fantastic. And my final tip, I would say, is that actually, we've talked about exercise, we've talked about food and sleep, but it's not just the physical. I mentioned meditation, but actually, as we get older and we think about how we manage that, we need to think about how we are in the world, our social and mental engagement. What are we doing? Who are we spending time with? How are we stimulating our minds? And a really simple way of doing that well is to do something new. Our brains, our aging brains, love novelty. They love learning new things, meeting new people. Talking to a stranger is one of the best possible workouts we can give our brains, because our brain is firing in so many different directions. So just seeking out novelty in our lives, and that can just be a different route to work or a new recipe, but something new is a really important way of aging well.
That is really interesting and useful advice. So get out there and start talking to strangers, everybody. One of the things I've observed actually since the pandemic is that we're all generally a lot kinder and more open, I think, because people are just so happy to see each other again and get out into the world. So I find, as someone who lives in London, and I'm hardwired to ignore everybody in my vicinity when I'm out, I'm much more likely to smile and engage with people than I would have done 2 years ago, which has got to be a good thing.
Oh, yes, absolutely. It really is doing good to our brains and to everything that's happening as we age. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, just before we wrap up, I see someone's asked about which leafy greens. So I'm going to say things like spinach, rocket, kale, watercress, cabbage, and although not strictly, we've got to say broccoli, haven't we, Susan?
Yes, cruciferous vegetables, really powerful. Yes, any kind of green, spring greens will be coming into the shop soon. If it's seasonal, so much the better.
Yeah,
anything. And
absolutely.
I really like Cavolo Nero.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, so start using different greens. Have a little look in that section of the supermarket and pick up something you've never had before. I had a veg box. I started getting a veg box about 10 years ago, and I remember being completely baffled when what was it now that came? Rutabaga. Never seen it. I thought it might be rhubarb. I had to phone them and ask. So look and try different things. So Susan, that was fantastic. Thank you very much. And stay on screen. And Julie and Anne, if you'd like to come back and join us, anybody who wants to pop questions in the chat, fire away. And I've got a couple of questions for all of you as well. So if we can all be pinned up on the screen, if that's okay, Laura, that would be brilliant. So it's a bit of a whistle-stop tour, but I'm getting some nice comments in the chat. So I think everybody's loving what we're doing. So thank you very much, ladies, for your great wisdom. And I'm going to come to you first. A couple of questions that were sent to me in advance. First of all, at what point should people seek medical advice about their headaches? Because we are terrible, I think, particularly as women, to sort of put up and shut up and get on with things.
Yeah, I think it's a point in time where you feel that you've lost control. You've lost the plot, as it were, that suddenly you find that the headaches are taking over your life rather than you feeling in control of your headaches. So obviously there are medical things you might consider, but the big point of thumb is who's in charge, you or the headaches.
Right. And it may or may not make a difference if it's a hormonal headache, but for headaches in general, do you have any sort of, well, general, I know it can only be generic advice really, on over-the-counter pain relief and what may or may not be effective?
Yeah, it really depends on, I hate to say this again, an individual. What paracetamol might work for some people, aspirin might work for other people, ibuprofen for other people. The important thing is, if you're going to take anything at all, take it right at the very start of a headache. Don't pussyfoot about and wait until the headache's got got really set in, because by that time nothing is going to work. And dare I say, Jackie, and dare I say to anybody who's involved in nutrition, that one of the most effective treatments certainly for dealing with migraine as it starts, if you're trying to avoid painkillers, is classic Coca-Cola. You didn't hear that from my voice.
Well, you know what? You say that, but I mentioned my mum earlier. My mum was a nurse, and she suffered from migraines, as I mentioned earlier. She would swear by flat Coke, honestly. Yeah. So I'm not shocked to hear that. And you know, it's you've just got to do what works. I mean, let's be practical.
30 years in the field, I'm not going to start arguing with the number of patients who have told me that that has been really effective for them. And my role is to really pass on all the tips. You hear them saying the same thing, the more there's got to be something in it.
Yeah, fantastic. I can see Aoife there who's tried Coke and it's worked for her. What about caffeine-free Coke? Do we know if that makes a difference?
Well, unfortunately, it's the caffeine that is partly helpful. So, you know, some to constrict the blood vessels that have become dilated, caffeine actually does exactly the same thing. Right. It's a very good blood constrictor.
And you often find it in things like, is it Panadol Extra and things like that? Caffeine.
But you know, a number of people have said that if they take a black coffee with a couple of spoonfuls of sugar in it, that's what works for them. Other people will say, oh no, I can't think of anything worse that I would like to have. So if you fancy a cup of coffee at the beginning of your migraine or headache, and that's what works for you, then there's evidence to support it.
Okay. And the role of exercise? If you've
got will
it help when you've got one? Or
it can. I mean, yes. I mean, it can. Obviously, you know, if you're really suffering, don't, for heaven's sake, go and push yourself out. But the brain is just looking for things that will make it feel better. So if your brain is saying to you, you've got to rest, you've got to take some time out, you've got to get into a darker room and be quiet, that's what you need to do. But if you have a sense of getting a bit of fresh air, getting out, going for a walk, if you found that makes you feel better, then get out and do it. Listen to what your body is telling you.
Julie, anything you'd add to that?
Oh, yes, I've been just looking at some of the comments here coming in about arthritis and exercise here as well. But just going off there, what Anne was saying, walking is absolutely fantastic, isn't it? Because we can actually be quite meditative when we walk, and if we can be outside and get that fresh air and the daylight and vitamin D, well, maybe from next month onwards anyway, from the sunshine, please, then that in itself is going to be great. So it's got to be what works for you. But I think just addressing these questions on arthritis, Jackie, is osteoarthritis, first of all. Well, funnily enough, the answer to both that and rheumatoid is resistance exercise has been found to be incredibly beneficial. In my other role as founder of Move It or Lose It, which is exercise for the over 60s, virtually everyone that comes to our classes has arthritis. And Professor Janet Lord, we partnered with the University of Birmingham and the Centre for Healthy Aging Research. They've done specific research on rheumatoid arthritis and have found that resistance exercises are the most beneficial, but that needs to be done with some supervision. If it's osteoarthritis, so more a case of the wear and tear and so on that lead to knee and hip replacements, then again, resistance, if you can strengthen the muscles that support the joint with resistance bands, they are brilliant, very low intensity, that's a great thing to do. And lastly, swimming, of course, if you can get in the water, support the joints, and you know, we do seated exercise as well. So anything that gets you moving, that does no harm, and you enjoy it.
Yeah, so movement really is medicine. Susan, I'm going to come to you now because I'm sure you've got something to say about walking and what that can do to help as well, because somebody mentioned there, does walking count as resistance? I suppose it depends on how briskly you're walking.
Yes, I suppose it's weight bearing. So yes, so in that way, but it's not resistant in the sense Julie was talking about lifting weights. But yes, no, walking is the number one age well exercise. And what's so brilliant about it, of course, is we can, as long as we don't have health issues preventing us, we can all do it. We can put on a pair of shoes and open the front door and go outside. And it is such a powerful age well exercise. And also it gets us outside, it gets us in daylight and fresh air, and the mental stimulation of seeing things and talking to strangers and all those things. But it is just so fundamental when it comes to aging well. We were designed to walk. We are bipeds.
Absolutely.
We're designed to keep moving.
And I think that's the answer to the lady in the chat who said she hates running. Let's just get out there and all walk more. And of course, the weather's getting better, the days are getting longer, so it becomes easier, doesn't it?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. And there are so many different types of walking we can do, and we can walk in the rain with the right clothes and in the wind and when it's cold. That's fine. It's just getting ourselves out there and kind of experiencing the elements.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me, when you were doing all your research into the science of aging, was there anything in particular that really surprised you that came out?
Well, in the very beginning, when Annabelle and I started our Age Well Project blog, we really started because we liked cooking. We both had family members with health issues that we wanted to avoid, and we really thought that healthy aging was about what we ate. And as we dived further into it, we realized there was so much more to it than that there are these other elements of the mental and social engagement, to the environment in which we're living, both in terms of pollution and air and our homes and where we live, and all those sort of things actually are really important to how we age. I think the biggest thing for me personally was sleep, which is why I sort of had that first in my tips, because I just hadn't really thought about the impact it has on us when we age. So I think that the role of sleep for me, I think, was the big one.
Okay. And Julie, coming back to you, one of the questions that came through to me earlier actually is from somebody who said, I want to do more impact work for my bones and to build up the strength, but I'm worried about the impact on my pelvic floor. Any advice?
Yes, a very, very common question, this one. And I think, first of all, to learn how to do those pelvic floor exercises, we should be doing these 3 times a day, not just when you've had a baby, but all of your life. And as I say, I also teach people in their 70s, 80s and 90s who wish that they had done those exercises much earlier. So finding out how to do those and do them regularly need to be done for 3 months before you even start to really notice that difference, to give you a bit more confidence as to how to engage your pelvic floor before you start jumping up and down. So if you're doing some trampolining, that's part and parcel. You've got to get on there. But if you can build up very gradually to be doing some skipping, you don't even need a rope, just pretend skipping, jumping, hopping, anything like that is going to really help with those bones. And that is absolutely vital as we...
Something's someone's asked for a whole webinar on pelvic floor exercises. I'll do that for next one. I promise I'll have a specialist on for you. Leave it with me. Now somebody just popped up a question which is for you, Anne, actually. If you can help us with this. Will having my progesterone through the Mirena coil rather than in tablet form help decrease the severity and regularity of migraines? Probably going to depend on the individual, I guess, but there's the question.
Yeah, I mean, it again, the choice of HRT will depend on what you need it for. And the Mirena is fantastic if you're particularly troubled by bleeding. What we do know is that it's the main driver of migraine and perimenopause is actually the fluctuations in estrogen. And from all the research that we've done, we couldn't find a link associated with progesterone or the synthetic progestogens at all. So getting the right level of estrogen that stops your hot flushes and night sweats is great. And I think, the other thing, I would totally agree about the issue with sleep. Sleep is one of the most important things, and that's the thing that gets really messed up in menopause. But get your sleep right, and that can often help mood, depression, hot flushes, night sweats, and all of those things. But it's getting the sleep right that's the issue.
I've got a whole podcast episode actually with Professor Russell Foster, who's a circadian neuroscientist, in season 1 of The Happy Menopause, and he is fascinating. So if you haven't listened to that, everyone, he's got some great advice. And I'm actually looking to do another one on sleep in the next couple of months, actually, because there's a new book coming out soon called Rested that I like the look of. So
don't forget cognitive behavioural therapy as well, CBT. Self-guided CBT can be fantastic for women living with cancer who can't take HRT, who need help with their hot flushes, night sweats, and sleep.
So,
No
absolutely.
drugs.
Absolutely, yes. I did another podcast just on that subject in December, actually, with Dr. Melanie Smith, who's worked with.
That's exactly top person. So
and she's amazing, and she's actually got this guided self-help book guide on the website that you can look at as well. So I would absolutely urge you to take a look at that. And picking up on hot flushes, because somebody's popped that in the chat, I think from a nutrition perspective, there are a few things you can really focus on here. First of all, it's got to come down to the hormone balancing diet, which basically is balancing that blood sugar. And if you want to know how to do that, the short answer is protein and fiber with every meal and snack. The long version is in my book, or I've actually got a whole podcast on that. Again, I'm like a broken record, aren't I? Other things I would say, you've got to lose the booze. Alcohol is an absolute killer when it comes to hot flushes, especially red wine, I find, but that will depend on the individual. But clinically, that's what I've observed. And even if you're just having like the odd glass as a sort of civilized glass with your meal, it can make a huge difference if you lose it. Gives your liver time to catch up with the 200 other jobs it's got to do, apart from worrying about detoxifying the things that you're putting in your body. And think about caffeine as well. Caffeine and nicotine are also huge triggers. I'd look at reducing stress and focusing very much on paced breathing. So perhaps just looking at breathing in and out much more slowly, about 7 times per minute rather than the average 13 or 14 that most of us do. These things can really help to ease down a hot flush when it's on its way. And of course, exercise, Julie. Hot flushes and exercise?
Absolutely. There's some evidence to show that it can reduce the severity and the number of hot flushes. But, you know, it's going to make you a bit hotter in the short term, but the long-term benefits will be worth it.
Excellent. I see someone's just put in a comment about sleep if leg cramps are waking you up. It's going to depend largely what that is. It could easily be magnesium, because magnesium regulates muscle function. So you might want to consider something like an Epsom salts bath, because Epsom salts is magnesium sulfate, 2 or 3 handfuls in the bath, soak for about 20 minutes, or a foot bath if you can't face a bath because of your hot flushes. Also consider if it's more about restless legs in bed, that's often an indicator of low levels of B vitamins. So you might want to be taking a look at that. You might benefit from good quality multivitamin and mineral, which usually has the whole family in there. So it's something to think about. And speaking of nutrient deficiencies, actually, Anne, any comments on deficiencies that might be contributing to migraine?
Well, they've looked at many of them, but to be perfectly honest, I'm not a great believer in needing to take masses of supplements for migraine. It's more about, because it's a lifelong thing. They've had it for so long. The issue is more follow a really good healthy diet. Look after your diet in general. That's where you should be getting your nutrients from, rather than having a rubbish diet and needing to take supplements to try to balance it up. It's like taking vitamin C from a tablet rather than actually eating the orange. It's got all the other things in it that help make the vitamin C work more effectively.
I do certainly agree that it's food first, but I am right in thinking that something like a deficiency in iron can cause headaches, albeit not migraines.
Well, yeah, it can, because anything that makes the body not functioning at normal level will make you more prone to getting headaches. So iron deficiency, underactive thyroid, all of those sorts of things. If you're not well for some reason in between the attacks, then you need to treat the thing that's in between the attacks that will also help make you less likely to get the migraine.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Gosh, time is ticking on. Someone's just asked the question about where can we find these podcasts. Laura, can you pop the link to my website in the chat again? I know you did it earlier. And then people can just look at the podcast page there. That's where everything is. So conscious of time and all this wonderful advice we're getting from you, I think we need another hour, except everybody probably wants to go and have their dinner and have a cup of peppermint tea. That's going to be my plan. So what I'm going to do next is just ask each of our wonderful guests for a very short final message on their subject. So if you were only to do really one thing to deal with moving more, improving the way you age, and reducing the risk of or managing your headaches, starting with you, Anne, what would that be?
Keep a diary, very simple diary, and just look for patterns of when attacks, days of the week, weekends, all of those sorts of things. Nothing complicated.
Lovely. Sorry, someone's not on mute and making a lot of noise in the background there. If they can mute themselves. Yeah, that sounds better. Thank you. Yes, so when you're looking at patterns, then it really is just sort of what counts as a pattern? Would it be if it happened twice, if it happened 3 times? What are we looking at?
You're trying to look for how many times it happens during the month. You're looking for the days that you don't have the migraine on. You're looking for days perhaps when you're going to work, days when you tend to be traveling. Just trying to establish, is there anything that you can see regularly seems to link to having a migraine? I mean, many people will say it's weekends, many people will say it's when they're about to go on holiday, but there's several nuances within that. Is it when they're doing a long trip, they have to go to work, or particular stresses that they're under, that they start seeing those patterns in?
And how far back are you looking for the pattern? If you get the migraine?
Oh, 3 months.
Yes, but when you actually get the migraine, is it what happened the previous 24 hours?
Oh, no. It's probably about 3 days before, because you've already got the changes for the migraine in the 2 days before you get the headache. Chocolate the day before you have a migraine attack. It's not the chocolate that's the trigger of your headache, but that's the craving as a symptom that you've already got the migraine. Stiff neck is exactly the same. You've already got the migraine. It's not a trigger, it's a symptom.
That's really very interesting. Thank you. Julie, moving on to you. Final message for our lovely listeners.
Well, we've been talking about moving more. I think I'd say sit less, because it's about reducing the amount of time we are sedentary. That's just as important. And some people are running around all day in their jobs, but the vast majority of us now are spending so long sitting down, working from home maybe. So just get up and move, even if it's, every half an hour if you can. If you're on longer than half an hour on a meeting, every hour, just walk up and down the stairs. The stairs is a little gym in your house or in the office. It's amazing. Get up and down those stairs. It'll really make a difference.
Excellent. I live on the 4th floor, so I've got lots of stairs that I can work on. Fantastic. Thank you. And Susan, how are we all going to age beautifully and fit and with great fitness?
Well, I would often say maintain muscle, which Julie has talked about. That's really important. But I've talked a lot about sleep this evening, and I would add to that as one final thing, rest. Not just sleeping, but rest. I think it's kind of the final piece of the puzzle that we often ignore when it comes to good health and aging well, because we are so conditioned, and I think particularly as women, to be on the whole time. There's always another thing to do, another chore, more work, another episode of a box set. We're just on the whole time, so we don't allow ourselves time to rest and replenish our energy levels, and we need to recharge. We've been through 2 very difficult years. The news now is just awful. We need that replenishing time, and it doesn't mean going to bed. As we were talking about, can be a walk or meditation, or someone mentioned in the chat yoga nidra, which is really, really powerful. It's whatever works for us that makes us feel rested.
Yeah, that's absolutely fantastic. And I really would endorse that, because I think that women are hardwired to look after everyone else except themselves. And this is our time where we really need to focus. And it's quite hard to do that because you're so used to nurturing everyone else. But if for no other reason than everything else will fall apart if you don't look after yourself, then do it for that reason. But really, this is the time to take time for you to not overload your schedule, to make sure that, you know, you're taking that little bit of time out of self-care, and it will pay dividends, won't it?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. And as you say, you know, now in midlife and menopause, it's the time when we really need to re-energize ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you very much. Right, everybody, the time has come for me to announce the winners, which is very exciting. So don't go away because you might be a winner. Just got to get the list up, which I've temporarily put to one side. Here we are. Okay, so the winner of the fabulous Better You box, which has got magnesium flakes, sleep lotion, joint spray, vitamin B12, and the lovely D3000, which I'm a huge fan of, has been won by Corinne Desfonds Peck. I hope you're still here. Congratulations. We will be in touch. We've got your details in any case via the sign up. So we'll be in touch to get your address and send that off to you. The Silk Intimacy Hamper with the lovely intimate lubricant, the single-use applicators, the truffles and the little bit of fizz as a special treat has been won by Liz Collett. The fabulous Emma Pell skincare, anti-aging serum and luxurious night cream has been won by Brenda Gormley. Congratulations. If you're disappointed and you didn't manage to win the skin cream, know that if you listen to Anne's podcast, apart from anything else, but anything running from September to December in season 3 of last year, there's a discount code of 20% if you're interested. You can also visit the Silk website, sylk.co.uk, and get a free sample from them. And I'm afraid you'd have to buy the Bethany product, but it's great value. So look out for that. The winner of Susan's wonderful books is Rose Donoghue. Congratulations, how exciting. And the winner of the Happy Menopause and my other book, The Right Bite, which I've put to one side of the other side of the room, has been won by Sharon Wright. So congratulations for that. That's absolutely brilliant. So what I'm going to do now before we wrap up is just, bear with me, I'm clicking the wrong way. There we are. I'm just going to pop up everyone's details there because they've been absolutely fabulous, but I'm sure you would have loved to have listened to them for longer to find out all the, the wonderful advice they've got. So if you would like to find out more about them, I'm here. You can see my website, my social media, and the name of my podcast, Happy Menopause. Anne's website is here for anyone who wants to find out more. But I would also urge you, because I know her clinic is fully booked for the time being, that to listen to the podcast with her, which was in September of last year. And also, if you look at the show notes, it will provide the link to a very useful paper that she's written on HRT and migraine for Women's Health Concern website. The link is there. You can find Julie here via her website, Meno Health, and also follow her on social media as Meno Health UK and Fabs Julie. And you can find Susan here, both at her own website, Susan Saunders Health, but also the Age Well Project. So you can follow her on social media and find out more about her wonderful books as well. So I really, really want to say thank you very much for joining us, ladies. You've been absolutely amazing. I can see some great feedback coming through in the chat. So thank you everybody for listening. Now, if you want to make sure that you get access to the recording, make sure you sign up here. We'll also be sending out the details as a follow-up in any case to everyone who's attended. So don't worry if you don't have a pen and you can't take that down right now. We will be in touch so that you make sure that you get access to the recording. It'll be out sometime next week because it's Thursday and I probably won't get it all tidied up tomorrow. So bear with us, but you're going to get it. Thanks very much, everybody. It's been absolutely brilliant. I'm so grateful to you for joining us. I know you're super busy, but you can see from the chat how much everybody's really appreciated it. So big wave from me, big wave from all the panelists.
Bye.
Bye, and thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye, everyone.